That Señor Gigio, what are you doing in New York?
Well, I'm mixing it up and I'm mingling, and I'm out here to build with the people, soak up the culture, and also bring the word of the funk lore, which is the album that I just released earlier this year, Bill, and you've been playing it on Put the Needle on the Record, and I really appreciate that. I do have a show on the 28th in Long Island, and that'll be at Oceanside at JP's Pub. It's a free show. It's from 8 p.m. to 2 a.m. All underground Long Island hip hop cats. It's gonna be a very dope show. And so everybody, if you're in the area, if you're not in the area but you're close enough that you can get there, go, cause I'm here, baby.
So now, have you been to New York before?
In the 8th grade. In the 8th grade, we took a field trip here for a week, and I'm starting to remember that it was an important trip for me too in my life. We went to go see a Broadway play. We toured the NBC studios, and it definitely activated me into wanting to be an artist and an entertainer. Where beforehand I had my creativity, but it was never something that I explored as, out loud as something that I would do. But that really woke me up, and it's a trip to be here now, and to be at this time in my life, and it's just a trip. Even just the fact that you and me are actually here in Union Square,
I know.
doing this, so it's a dream come true, man. Even just I've just barely been here, but I've been in Brooklyn, and just, all these places that you hear referenced in songs so often are like larger than life places in my mind, because the artists who I'm listening to are larger than life,
Yeah.
So I'm just like we're driving around, I'm asking my buddy over here, Daniel St. Vincent, who I went to high school with in Fairfield, California.
Represent?
Yeah, but he's out here, and I'm like, what? Flatbush, Bedford, Stye, like what? Just like seeing the actual places in real time. It's a trip, and yeah, it's amazing. I'm stoked that you asked me to do that too, because it was healing for me to write it and to commemorate all those important artists. And I've actually performed that live.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I performed it live, and it's it makes for a great moment on stage. It just brings it all back to hip hop. So much of like what I do on stage is all storytelling, it's the lyricism and all that, but that puts it all into perspective. Like, hey, like, I'm from the culture. This is what I love. These are the people who I idolize, and I'm not just coming at this like a new jack with no with no sense, which is okay sometimes. There's room for that, but for me, my foundation, is to be a student of the culture and a student of the history. I respect what these people have done, what these artists have done,
Well, I remember too, because it was in the wake of two very important Bay Area artists, Shock G and Zumbi, having died, and Biz Markie had died not too long before that either, just in the previous months.
And Gift to Gab too.
And Gift to Gab, that's right. Yeah.
So it was like all back to back, and then DMX as well, too. Was just on another, and I don't know, all those specific artists. I feel like they're spiritual, in their own way, that they just represent a kind of consciousness of just having a certain kind of awareness, like Biz Markie, and just like, it's good not to take life too serious, to have fun, and that's important.
And another thing, if I may add too, is the other thing they had in common besides being spiritual is that they all died way too young. I mean, you shouldn't be dying in your 40s or 50, early 50s.
I totally agree with you there, and that's something that I think a lot of young cats in my position are more conscious of that. The hard living it's hard to live the hard living. It's much easier to just have a little bit more balance. Not that you shouldn't have fun, like I enjoy a drink, but I try to have some balance, get your exercise in. It doesn't have to be too extreme. I think extremes, people think in extremes often, and that I think deters people from living healthier, when it doesn't have to be so extreme. It's as simple as just like waking up, touching your toes, remembering to breathe, remembering to connect to your breath, just simple little things to connect to your body, and hydrate, drink water.
I totally concur with everything you say there, and I think every day should be started with like a little meditation.
Nothing is promised,
Exactly.
I mean, and that's the thing with the extremes too. You think if some people, and everybody has their own path, but I know some people who are extreme on the health thinking. It's like, well, just because you got A to Z taken care of, you got the perfect diet, and you know that your body is built like bronze or whatever, it doesn't mean you don't know, or we don't know. We just do our best. And I think it's important you got to feel. Part of it is feeling good. So if you don't feel good, then it's probably not good for you. If the exercise, if you don't like it, then it's probably not for you. You got to do what makes sense to you. Like if the eating doesn't appetize you, then that's not healthy eating for you. But if it's tasty and it's something that you look forward to, then you should do that. Hey, yo. Rest in peace to all the spirits that have gone. They left behind us lyrics that are strong to remind us of the time when they was shining like diamonds when they was rhyming. It's a sad to see them go, but yo, we keep them alive and let the ego go, cause the spirit stay vast, infinite. Just picture that moment and remember it. I'm on the microphone with benefits. It's like that, yo. We all up in the mega mix and WFMU. As we continue to bring you the new, still gotta pay respect and recollect and put it all into retrospect. We got rhymes on deck and we got plenty more stories to tell, but yo, right now I gotta say rest in peace to Coolio. I remember when I was just a young child and the style was quite unusual, but now we on a fantastic voyage. And yo, new stuff I get annoyed with, but I can still be boyish and remember that time. I think I was like in the 2nd grade. He straight destroyed-ish. He was a dangerous mind. Hey yo, ahead of his time. It's all good. I'm still in my prime, and I'ma come here, continue to get mine. Yeah, rest in beats to Coolio. Yeah, peace. In my A Night's Quest to Quest music video, we started out in front of the Shock G mural there. Yeah. So, definitely Shock is another one. Like I was telling my buddy Daniel St. Vincent here about Shock G, and me and my buddy Daniel St. Vincent just last night, we were talking about the passing of Coolio and how sentimental that made us, and then I was also relating to him, but the one that when Shock G's passing really that got me very emotional.
Why?
Well, I guess, for me, I guess on some level, I guess I would have hoped to have met him, maybe, and shake his hand. I feel like, there's so much that I soaked up from his interviews and documentaries and stuff that his philosophy on life and on people really resonated with me. And maybe one thing that I feel like a lot of people kind of don't get from what he was putting out there was really, he had a one love, one world perspective. He brought multiculturalism to the forefront, and I feel like in the last decade or so, that idea of like multicultural and people being mixed, being together and kind of vibing has kind of like been tainted in the mainstream. But it's interesting, we can all vibe out to do the Humpty Hump, And in the end of the song, he makes sure he's going out of his way to say white people, black people, Samoans, Puerto Ricans, to let you know that the party is for everybody. That's what hip hop is, and that's where I come from in my perspective. I'm mixed. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm Nicaraguan, but I got roots all over the place. From Europe to Latin America and beyond. And my childhood growing up was mixed. All my friends, I had black friends, white friends, Filipino friends, Asian friends, Latino friends, all of the above. And to me, I always thought that was special, and that's always the hip hop experience that I tried to have. So, and I think that he lived it well. I think that he repped it well, and also I appreciate he just had a lot of style, man. Just the humor. I appreciate this. That he was able to be sentimental, at the he could be a lot of things in one sentence. He could be as wild and as goofy as ever, and still very gentle and compassionate and empathetic to who he's vibing with, and he was down for the ladies too. He knew how to have a good time with the ladies and make sure that they were having fun too. So I really appreciate that about him. I just, even him and like Biz Markie, they kind of speak to a time when I think that humor was more prevalent, and I feel like rappers these days take themselves too serious. And I wish to see more comedy and more humor in rap,
Here.
So that's also why Shock G's passing kind of shook me up. But then also, Zumbi passing too, like just the subject of that, and the fact that he was murdered, like it's terrible. It's terrible, especially this man he represented peace in his music. He represented all the opposite things that happened to him. Non-violence, peace, carrying yourself with integrity, and he represented the Tai Chi ideals of martial arts and meditation. So to see him be murdered, it's an injustice. It really is. I mean, as artists, I think that we get to do something special, maybe more on the forefront, but that really all people are doing this. And we come here, every single one of us, we come here to live our lives. And we go through the motions, but we don't realize individually like how impactful our presence is on others, on the psyche of others, and just how lasting our effect is on people. And on artists, we're coming through and we're just doing this thing that's inside of us, to come here and to do this art, to make this music, and it gets to live on that way where people can still relate to it. But I think even if you're not an artist, even if you don't make music, that's still how large you are in somebody's life. It's the same impact. People, we all have people in our lives that just their presence, makes us feel something closer to God, closer to ourselves. And I think it's important too for people to remember, like, we don't always have to have the answers about what it is that we're doing. A lot of times we don't know why we're doing what we're doing, but we feel called to it. And I think that's it right there. Just as long as you feel called to it, everything else that you're doing will work itself out through it. Even the challenges that come along the way, like some of these artists that you're talking about, like DMX, like so many people can chalk up his death to like, oh, you see, he was struggling with drugs and this and that, and it's like, well, at the same time, he was following his calling the whole way through. He was showing up 100% of himself as much as he could, but it's like we're not in control of our lives, we're not in control of what we're doing. But I think the more, kind of awareness we come into ourselves and what we're capable of, then we become more responsible for what we should be doing to ourselves and how we treat ourselves and how we treat others. But, people are larger than life. We're spirits inside these bodies, So that's how it is. A lot of these people, just throughout history too, these people that we, you know, that are erected, you know, they got statues and stuff, they just were doing what they were trying to do. They you know, they struggled with all the same stuff that we do, whether it's addiction, whether it's, you know, depression, whatever it was, like unhealthy living, but they followed their calling, and that spoke for itself, you know, and that's really the impact that we each have, you know, on each other. I mean, you know, the idea of being alive and being conscious, it's so vast that we're always taking stuff in all the time, and as we're taking stuff in, we're always thinking ahead. We're like nonstop thinking ahead. So it's you know, the way that you can do that, because a lot of us mean to do that. We mean to do that, we feel to do that, but the best way to actually do it is to just make it a practice. You know, treat it the same way, like a practice. Nobody's gonna get it. You're not gonna get it 100% right of the, you know, all the time, but you know, you can get closer to the mark. And that's when you treat it the same way, like, all right, let me treat my body right, let me try to be healthy, you know, and have some kind of regimen and understanding about that, the same way you could do that with, all right, let me try to reach out and make a practice of letting the people who are important in my life know that they're important to me, and even the people that sometimes you think, you know, how many people do we connect to in our life? You know, some people, especially now, you're thinking of social media. Some of us are connecting to thousands of other spirits at one given time. You know, so it's important to do that. I think that the way that we could do that is just to try to practice it. You know, make it a life choice. You know.
Yeah,
Shock
such
G.
a talented artist.
Yep. Mac Dre.
Yes.
E40. You know, Too Short. The Renaissance men who kind of set the standard. Hyro. These guys who were like, yeah, we're gonna do it all ourselves and do it good and do it with style.
Yes.
You know. Because I think that's just the next level of being an artist, anyways. You know, I think naturally, like, a lot of us, maybe not all of us, but a lot of us do have a vision for ourselves and for our music. And, you know, you can wait around for somebody to try it and make that vision happen, or you can just do it yourself. I don't like it now if somebody, you know, tries to tell me, you know, what to do. At least when you know, there's certain parts of the, you know, the creativity, because it is a social thing. You know, like my music is social, so I do intend for people to react to it, relate to it. That sometimes there is air for people to be able to make suggestions and to give me some ideas and stuff, but you know, certain stuff, when it's like, when I got the vision and I know what I'm saying and I know what I'm seeing, it's like, yeah, no, thank you for the suggestion, but that's not for me and that's not for this. But you know, I do hope to at a certain point, you know, I don't know in what picture that'll look. Maybe I'm sure it'll happen on its own terms, you know, eventually, if there's some kind of record label, something that happens. I don't know, but I definitely would like to have some kind of, you know, a little extra push behind it, you know, because it is the more I keep growing, you know, and doing what I'm doing, and I keep taking on a lot more stuff, and I would like, even as streamlined as what I do seems to people, you know, like to people who are getting it, you know, there's so much more that people don't see that I have, like, on the back burner, and that's where I feel like, you know, I don't know what that is, you know, something. If it's distribution or if it's, you know, label, I don't know. And I also think that's also what's kind of interesting about today now, too is that I think that idea too of like labels or even just like indie artists getting assistance, a lot of it is up for interpretation now too, where it's not like how you were describing, like back in you know the 90s when people were getting signed, that it very much was a strict regiment thing of what a label would do for an artist. Now I think it's a lot more open for interpretation, and I'm already in a flow where I enjoy promoting myself. I like doing what I do. I like having, you know, my own kind of stuff. I wouldn't stop doing what I already do. No, you check this out. I mean, this right here, just to get like 150 copies of these made and put together myself, you know, which I designed and everything. But you know that's a hustle, and I hustle. It's kind of like this, you know. The music works, you know, the art and all of that works, and then, you know, I got my family life, you know, me and my wife, and we take care of my 18-month-old baby, and that works, that takes care of itself. But I guess you know, hey, I gotta shoot my shot, man. You know, I appreciate that I can hustle and I can sell my art and I can do the thing, you know, to help my family out. But I feel like I kind of want this to be its own income thing, you know. I don't want to be dipping into the funds from you know, comic book album and whatever art I'm doing to go into living a little bit maybe, but more I would like it to keep the ship afloat, you know. So that's what I would hope, you know. All right, on so many levels, there's a lot of different parts to this, but Bill, like, this is gonna be the biggest thing. What I'm doing right here is gonna be huge. It already, you know, people who know it, they know, but I'm still growing. But this will be whatever that is, you know, on its own terms. But I aspire for this to be as huge as Bob Marley is huge, you know, and the same way, the same trajectory of Bob Marley. I love that he was spiritual. I love that he was radical the whole way. You know, I those are part of my aspirations too, that this can be huge, and it doesn't have to lose its integrity, and you don't have to compromise your artistic integrity, your creativity, or your dignity, or you know, that's part of my mission too, and part of why I want to do that. It's not just for myself. It's because I feel it's in me to do that, but it's also because I tell you what, there's so many amazing artists, beautiful people. What people take for granted that so many of these artists are making the music and the art from the most vulnerable and deepest parts of their soul, and that's why a lot of these people, they disappear after a while, because it was heartbreaking for them. And you know, I want to challenge that, and I want to make more space, you know, for these artists to be heard too, and that's part of the work that I'm doing too. You know, it is to break ground for other artists to come through, other musicians to come through, and get their messages, their important messages heard. You know, stuff that makes us human, that reminds us why we're here, why we're alive, reminds us that, you know, we're benevolent creatures, you know, and throw all that plastic crap out, because it doesn't work. It hasn't worked, you know. All the ego stuff, throw it out, you know, especially in rap, especially in mainstream commercial rap. Like, throw that crap out, you know. It's not, it is what it is, but it's not the truth, and it's not helping anybody on down here, the commons. These rappers who are coming up and just boasting that they're rich, and then you even listen more to their messages, like, why are you so angry? They put out so much anger into the world. Those messages and those images that they're putting out are not helping people. it's not going to help anybody get to the next level, because the next level is happiness. That's really what it is, you know. So those are things that I'm interested in doing, and that's what I'm here to do. And I'm also here to grow as an artist and a musician. Like right now it's rap, you know. I'll always have my underground hip hop roots, but I love soul music. I love blues music, you know. I love rock and roll music, and I'm gonna experiment too. You know, I will grow as a musician. You know, I will work with musicians and produce all of the above. You know, and everything else. You know, that's the flavor of what it is. But you know, just like many of my inspirations that come to me, I'm not in control of the inspiration. I get it through dreams, and then I follow it. So whatever the inspiration is, and whatever I feel like I'm being called to do, just like I was speaking on earlier, whatever I feel that I'm being called to do, I'm gonna do that. And just like I came out here to New York City, I felt called to come out here. I had a dream that said, Gigio, go to New York City for 2 weeks, do as much as you can do for your music, and try to get as much done as you can in that amount of time. You know, that's where that came from. So I felt called to do it. I will follow the calling, and everything else in my personal life that I got to work through to do that, that's my business. You know?
On that note, thank you so much.
Thank you too, Bill. It's been awesome to hang out with you.